What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Misfits of HVAC podcast here in Asheville, North Carolina at the NCI High Performance Summit, as always. But physically next to me is the lovely and talented Miss Jennifer Manzo. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing amazing. I couldn't be better. This is the best podcast setup I will ever see in my lifetime. So
no, it's
super
definitely
stoked. Thank you so much to Adam Muffich for this.
Yeah.
Inviting us out here.
So if you guys aren't aware, we are in Asheville, North Carolina at the NCI High Performance Summit. It's training classes. It's a trade show. It's just really a meeting of the minds for very smart, very intelligent HVAC people. There's so many past guests that have been on our show that I got to meet in person. It's really been cool. You want to give a quick rundown about like who is here and who we've met?
Oh, absolutely. I got all the celebrity dirt. So here we have seen Adam from the Overtime Show. We have seen all the guys at NCI, which is incredible because we don't see a lot of them out in the open a lot. So then we got Jim Bergman and all the guys at Measure Quick. We have, Joe Madosha we had on a couple of weeks ago. We've seen so many amazing people and not only seen them, but taken their classes. So I got to sit in with Brian Orr this morning twice.
Yes.
Which is a huge pleasure every single time. I learned a lot of company culture stuff to bring back to my company. And then obviously sitting in on Adam Muffich's training for HVAC design, which was huge because it was a lot about heat pumps, and I'm doing inverters now, and a lot of my job is design. So it's been super helpful.
Yeah, and it was very informative, but it was also very entertaining. Yes. There were some laughs going out throughout the class, very inviting. Very cool. So, and there's contractors here too. It's not just social media guys and instructors and trainers. There's guys from all over the country, which I got to meet last night. They had a little event, and of course it was Jennifer's birthday yesterday. So we all rung it in with some celebrations for Jennifer. Happy birthday, related. What are you now? You're like 32, 29,
15th year. I'm 36.
But yeah.
And it was also Tony from Field Piece, Tony Gonzalez's birthday. So we're birthday twins, we found out.
Very cool. Amazing. That is awesome. So yeah, it's been an awesome experience. Some of the classes, I want to go over. So let me pull up
let's talk about that because we don't get access to classes like these in normal virtual training. This is a super treat that we're in for here.
Yeah, very nice. Very cool. So the classes disappeared on me, but tomorrow, they've got the Measure Quick puts on a cool class on Measure Quick and what they've got coming out. Jim Bergman doing that. Very cool. Tomorrow, there's going to be Rector Seal, Dust Free, the Science of Filtration with John Ellis. We got to meet John Ellis. What an awesome dude he was and is. Very nice, very inviting. Chris Hughes and Steve Rogers from TEC, they're putting on their True Flow grid training tomorrow.
I got to take the Measure Quick and True Flow class today, and it was absolutely incredible.
Yep.
I learned how to teach both in 1 hour.
Yeah. And then we've got the how to properly design heat pump with Adam Muffich, of course. It was so cool because I've been watching Adam on the Overtime Show for years, and to actually get to sit in on the training was very cool. It was a different side of Adam that I, really haven't seen before. So very cool. Asheville, what a town. I like it. I've made a couple trips around Asheville, and
it is beautiful here. Yeah. You guys, we're right in the Black Mountains, and it's absolutely stunning.
Yeah. So I'm going to go over the chat here real quick. We got Steve from Everything HVACR, man. Nice. Welcome. Susie Dunn. How are you? Very good to see you here. And thank you for stopping in. Everett Lippel. Is it Lippel? Lippel.
I don't know, actually.
Neil C. Vids. And we've got a few others in there that aren't chatting because I can see the number of viewers is going up. So,
well, hey, everybody that's here, thank you for being here.
Yeah, you never know. Jennifer, she's pretty bright and pretty talented, and she's quite a trainer herself. Maybe someday.
I would kill.
Maybe someday.
I would kill to train it.
What would you teach? What would your class be?
At NCI, I would probably teach the dangers of oversizing equipment because it's the most important thing these contractors need to hear. I don't care how much they hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm also teaching at Excellence this year in March. I'll be out in Vegas teaching.
Oh, really?
Yeah, about how to teach multiple skill levels in one room. So
nice.
My next big one.
So yeah, I got to meet a lot of the guys here at NCI. So cool, so inviting. Happy to. they're happy to see everybody here.
Yes.
You know, very cool. Such a good vibe.
But we're the misfits, so we need to get into this. They can throw a party.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No doubt.
Like, we have been catered to. We have been spoiled. I have never eaten this much in my life because I eat like half a meal a day. And then on top of that, like last night, we could not get a bar that was open for my birthday party. And sure enough, this hotel.
Yeah.
Until 11.
We didn't even need to take the party anywhere else. The party was going on right here. And perhaps I might have partook a little too much in the partying, but hey, you know,
I left Ryan sleeping at home.
It is what it is. Nasty's here. And Everett, he said emphasis on the Pell.
So lapel. Okay.
So,
I like it better the other way.
Yeah. If I ever had to teach a class, not that I have
What
any
would you
training,
teach
I don't know. I guess it'd be like a training for new helpers, you know, apprentices.
Yeah, you do good
what
with
to do
apprentices.
and not to do when you're
So
an
you
apprentice.
guys-
That would be my.
You guys don't even know this about Ryan, and he'll never say it, so I have to. But Ryan is super good with apprentices. And I know this because one of his old apprentices, who's almost out of it herself, Jenna
Yeah.
Pruski, has told me
Yeah.
thousands of times how grateful she is for Ryan helping her.
Oh, no, she doesn't say that.
She does.
Really? Well, thank you,
Yes.
Jenna. Very nice. So she is one of our brightest and most promising apprentices.
She's out there for HVA Chicks right now. Where is she? She's at the women's conference.
Yeah, she's at the women's conference. She actually had a new shirt made up because my union is 396. It's plumbers and pipe fitters,
Yep.
but they're also service technicians. But the shirts and hoodies they put out,
say
it doesn't
that.
emphasize on the service technician part. So she went ahead and
Why, thank you.
took that upon herself to have a design made and print up the shirt. She sent
Yep.
it to me and said, "What do you think?" I said, "It's awesome, and I want one." So yeah, Jenna
they're
is
cool.
great.
So we're going to have some guests on tonight, you guys. We're going to do this kind of speed dating style. We're going to have Adam and Dave from NCI. We're going to have Tim DeStasio HVAC, which is amazing. And if Jim Bergman remembers
Yes.
that I asked him to come on, he'll be here at 7:45.
Yeah.
So let's hope. you
And
guys-
I just want to highlight too, today while we were having lunch, they had a keynote speaker. Who was that? Who was that guy?
That was the one and only Brian Orr.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
It was a very good.
I'm sorry, but if I'm going to join a cult, Brian Orr is going to be at the head of it. I would drink all that Kool-Aid every day.
But I got to tell you, it was primarily geared toward business owners and stuff. But
Super helpful for me.
me as just a service technician, it was very inspiring, and it kind of gave me a,
Doesn't it make you want him to be your boss?
it made me think about a few things. The guy's definitely talented with his business operations and his public speaking and everything. Seems
And
like
humble. That's what I
very
love
humble.
about Brian. And I think anybody who has 10 kids, most of them teenagers, is going to be humble because I know I am. He
Yeah.
actually brought that up this morning, and all I could think of is how much my teenager girls bully me. So
Yeah.
I know he probably gets
I
it
was
too.
shocked by the 10 kids. That is a lot
Yeah.
of kids. I've got 2.
10
I've
kids
got
and
my
the
hands
hottest
full.
wife on the planet.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
I mean, I've got kids. I've got, baseball practices, piano lessons, this and that. Who's taking? I can imagine.
And they
Yeah.
homeschool. They homeschool
Oh,
all
really?
10 of their kids. Yeah,
Wow.
which is awesome. Well, not the ones that are out of school, but they
Yeah,
do the same
but
thing I do. It's pretty
Guys,
cool.
if you get the opportunity at any point in the future to attend the NCI summit, wherever the next one may be in whatever town, I highly recommend it. This is my first time here. And like I said, the training was very impeccable. It was very good classes. The atmosphere here, everybody's bouncing ideas. You're getting to meet make a lot of good connections with a lot of good people.
So I want to talk about that because I didn't go to it today just because nobody wants to hear my ideas. But there's an ideas meeting at this summit, which is absolutely the best idea I've ever heard in my life. So all the contractors, all the people here can pay $20 at the door, go into this meeting, and they can brainstorm basically. And then the winning idea gets to take the pot. All the 20s that went in, which is incredible. It's so awesome.
Maybe we should ask our guest about that because I've got some questions. About
Yeah, let's bring him on.
How did they determine the winner?
Yeah.
So do you want to introduce our guests?
I would love to. Tonight, you guys, we have the most infamous at NCI, although everyone at NCI is infamous. We have Mr. Dave Richardson and Mr. Adam Muffett. You guys all know the latter from the Overtime Show. So
Yeah, welcome to the show, guys. Thank you for having us. Very happy to be here and would love to pick your brains about NCI and this whole thing. And very awesome. So the question is, who determines the winner of this ideas conference?
It's voted on.
It's voted on.
It is
by
contracted
the participants or by you guys?
by the participants.
Wow.
It's peer vote.
Nice.
That is so, see, it just gets better every time I think about it.
So you don't run into an issue of everybody just votes for themselves?
Everyone's tied
there's
with
an
one vote.
integrity level to it.
Gotcha.
This
Very
place is
cool.
definitely full of integrity.
Yep.
There you go. Yep.
So Dave Richardson, Adam Muffitch is on the show. And Adam, we talked when you were on the show last. You've made quite a change from the business owner to training now with NCI. It seems like you're fitting in real good over here. You got the button up on and the official, the official things. And I just want to say thank you very much for having us out here. This is something that I wouldn't have partaken in had I not been invited, but has maybe opened my eyes up to more training and, maybe exploring that for myself more in the future. So might be a wake up call for me, Jen.
And that's the point, right? You guys like trying to get contractors to want to be better. And that's the goal for all of us right now, but especially people like NCI doing that. That's what it shows everybody that it's important because they're going to listen to you. So we really appreciate that.
So Dave, let me ask you, how long have you been with NCI? What's your position? And maybe give us a little update on who you are and what you do.
Dave.
It doesn't seem like
I
started in 2010.
Okay.
So, I've been here a little bit.
Yeah.
Former contractor before that.
Okay.
So I was kind of NCI's poster child before that because we did this stuff. We, and then we would share the lessons at the summit, which started in like 2004. So this thing's been going on for a little bit.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So they made me a offer I couldn't refuse in 2010. I was like, all right, let's do it. They wanted to put a home performance class for HVAC professionals together. So that was my first charge, was to write that, combining, what we had done, because we made HVAC performance and home performance work as a viable business model. So that was the first thing that we did. And then we just started doing curriculum from there and teaching.
Very cool.
Got to work with Jim Davis, the daddy of modern day combustion testing. So
he's here, right?
He is here.
I haven't met him yet, but I'm excited.
He is here. So getting to teach his material, him handing that off. He had always been the one, he had guarded it so closely.
Yeah.
So it went through the instructor thing, doing curriculum development. And now the official title, if it's what you want to call it, it's the vice president of training. So
nice. That's a beautiful title to have.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. VP of anything is awesome. Very cool.
How about you, Adam?
I answer to him.
It's more like I answer to him.
Yeah. I mean, Adam's a big presence, that's for sure. And like Ryan was saying, he's like, I got to see a different part of Adam. I cannot use Quick Model for a crap whatsoever, but I'm learning. And Adam was the first person to ever teach me Quick Model. So I knew Adam had it in him the whole time, for sure.
Very cool. So
what about the summit? What's behind it? Where did this come from?
It was an idea of bringing like-minded professionals together, guys that believed in transparency and measuring. They understood that there's more to HVAC than the box.
Yeah.
And they knew there were problems with it, but how to measure it, how to actually market, put a business model and a process behind it, improve the craftsmanship that our industry brings. We get derated so badly by focusing only on the box.
Yeah.
And we don't even focus on our true skill set.
For sure.
One of the comments I made in the class earlier was, a lot of times we complain because customers often go with the lowest price. And oftentimes it's because it's the only thing that they understand.
Right.
So it's how to take the highly technical pieces of what we do, make it very simple and relatable, and improve your work.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the theme here. I know I've sat in on classes with everybody that's teaching here many times before, but something about the atmosphere here makes them teach it in such a simplistic way that it's beautiful. Like the Measure Quick and True Flow class earlier was incredible. I was like, wow, stuff's clicking for me. And I've been using it for a decade, Yeah. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, very cool. We're also, Adam set it up. So we're broadcasting on the Misfits of HVAC YouTube channel and also on NCI's Facebook and NCI's YouTube channel as well. So guys, after the show, if you want to venture on over to NCI, that's National Comfort Institute, Inc. YouTube channel, check out some of the videos they're offering. And hit that subscribe button for them. Definitely. And, you might not be able to be here right now to get the training in person, but I'm sure there's plenty.
Let's talk about that, right?
Yeah.
You guys have something that nobody else has. You guys have an entire university of airflow combustion training. Like, let's talk about that. What do you have on there? How can people achieve getting into that? And I guess, how accessible is it?
Well, our bread and butter is going to be the live training.
Yes.
There's something about learning in a live environment that I don't think you could ever replicate. Now, we do have what we call online university, which is a subscription model. But we also do webinars. So we have live online training that you can access. You can find on our website. But what we do is we try to break those up. Most of us have been contractors at some point. We understand how hard it is just to pull out for 2 to 3 days, even a day, to do training. So what we do is we break it up into 4-hour chunks. So you still don't lose a day. You can still get that work in. So
Nice.
That's awesome.
yeah.
And I love that you guys are mostly contractors before, because a lot of the training institutes, that's not the case, right?
Yeah.
But like when Adam came over here, I was like, they're going to be fine. But yeah, that's one of the biggest themes that I like about NCI specifically.
Yeah. Just Work, our friend Rodolfo has a question. He says, do they work with the apartment industry for showing static pressure?
So for airflow testing, do you work with
Absolutely.
multi-homes? Awesome.
If it moves there, we talk about
Yeah.
it. Yep.
Yeah. Love it.
And, Chris Hughes is here from TEC. There's so many big names. I can't even run through them all. And I'm not going to try because I don't want to leave anybody out, but there's so many just brilliant, people that I look up to. I'm like, what am I doing here?
Well, everybody wants to train at NCI.
Yeah. Very cool. Lots of good classes.
What else do you guys offer for contractors? I know there's a bunch on your website. I tried desperately to be able to list it off, but I just can't.
Well,
there's so much.
One thing that I think is awesome is when you go through the training, there is so many different processes and different forms, procedures, and that you have access to that you could download and start using on a day-to-day basis as a contractor. So that's like a huge thing, right?
Wow.
So it's like you take the class and then you get the information and you get the processes to bring with you into the field.
That's amazing.
Yep.
And for all your guys, I mean, I've seen a lot of contractors that I've just met this time, and they had to come without the rest of their crew. So then they can go back and they can, enroll in you guys' virtual training, and they can get all of that together. Their guys. That's beautiful.
Very
I have
cool.
to sign up for NCI training.
Yeah, very cool. And they picked a beautiful town to do it in this year.
Yes.
Asheville's nice. The mountains, the sunsets. A lot of the people are staying here at the resort that they're doing this at. But the lovely Jennifer got an Airbnb and invited me along. So we're up a dirt road, up on a mountain. She was going to have a little shindig for her birthday at the Airbnb. They said no parties, but it's good because I was like, half these people will be falling off the mountain trying to get out of here.
It was sketchy, to say the least.
But yeah,
I always have to be extra.
Asheville's very cool. Do you guys do the summit in a different city every year?
Hops around
Every year. Yep.
Where are some of the past ones been?
Last year, let's see, where were we last year?
That's Mike Cianfrocco, for those who don't know.
Boy, this is sad. I'm having like a total.
No,
we were in Branson, Missouri.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, I actually heard about that one last year. People are saying that the scenery there is even more beautiful.
Yep, we were in Branson. Then before that, I think we were in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Nice.
Wow.
So, and we usually pick a couple of places: East Coast, Central, and then West Coast.
That was my next question. Do you go to the East Coast, like above here, or is it just North Carolina?
Usually, we try. Traditionally, we've held it in the near the winter time.
Right.
But that's when all the conferences are happening.
Yes.
And we're like, we are so jammed in. Everybody's conferenced out. We're like, why don't we
gets
just
so
go
hard.
back to the fall?
Yeah.
I love it.
So
I was happy about that because I
Yeah.
get so overwhelmed at conference season.
Yep.
Big time.
Well, where next year is it going to be? Have you guys worked that out yet?
They're not going to tell us.
we
that.
have.
Oh, really?
They will tell us.
Top
that.
secret.
We have.
Misfits exclusive.
It's I can do it. You guys,
Do
this is an exclusive.
All right.
Awesome.
We're going to be in Austin, Texas next year.
Oh my gosh. And I actually have to go to Texas, so I'll just wait for that.
Yeah, Texas. I've always wanted to visit Texas.
Will it be around the same time?
Same week, right?
Yep.
It'll be
Same
right
week?
around the same time.
And we've got a lot of viewers and followers that watch the show in Texas. Who do we know
Yes.
in Texas?
We
Jason
got
Johnson's
Jason
in Texas.
Johnson,
I'm
we've
sure
got
he would
Brett
love.
Wetzel. We've got
Yeah.
so many, almost all of them.
I
live in
think
Texas.
isn't Rodolfo in Texas?
I believe he
He's
is.
North
Yeah.
Texas. So,
Yep.
guys, this might be a great opportunity to get in here and get a few days off work for one. Meet a bunch of cool, awesome people. Get some training. Shake some hands.
Change the industry.
Change the industry.
If this reaches one contractor,
Yeah.
that's huge. That's a whole world change. But if it reaches all of them,
Yeah.
that's
And more importantly, changing, the way you think about things.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've taken away from this is,
yeah.
it's given me
And
things
like
to
Brian
think
Orr
about.
said this morning, actually, I've been super frustrated with my brother-in-law because he's been in HVAC longer than Val. So we're talking over 20 years. And he refuses to learn. And it makes me crazy. And he just wants to be a duck guy, just wants to do sheet metal. And I'm like, you have potential. I can teach you anything. Like, just do this. And Brian said today is to stop trying to fit contractors into those boxes. Let them be who they want to be and who they are.
Yeah.
So now I have to take that home.
And that made a lot of sense to me because I've got some gripes. My job, I'm like, how come this guy's not pulling compressors up,
Right.
doing this? And my boss said to me, he's like, I kind of put people where they're best at. And I'm like,
he's smarter than me because
and I'm like,
I've been trying to shove him into that box.
well, I'm thinking, I'm best at doing the the hardest stuff. I'm getting old here. My shoulders are starting to
That's
hurt.
why
You
your
know,
content's good, right?
I said, but we should start sending that guy with me. Maybe I can show him how to do this because look, I'm gone for a week. Who's doing that work now?
Right.
But yeah, it was very entertaining. Very
but events like this make you want to do that. That was my point. You go home renewed, but you also go home with like this urgency that you have to change something right now, even if it's the smallest little thing. Its implementation is so pushed here that I can't wait to get back.
It's the hardest part.
Yeah.
It is the hardest
I'm afraid
part.
of it, but it needs to happen. For
yeah.
sure.
Everett commented here, feed strengths. And don't try to, if I can speak, don't try to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
And, I guess so true. I guess hearing that from Brian, it really did make sense. I was like, well, you don't want to, put people where they're doing the best job.
I've always seen it as I'm inspiring them. And but not everybody's me. Not everybody wants to go home and do HVAC and then go to sleep and do HVAC and then wake up and do HVAC and just HVAC all the time. So,
I wouldn't say everybody. There's a lot of people here to get HVAC in their
veins.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt.
For sure.
It was very cool. I think I've learned a little more just interacting with the people out in the hallways and talking and at the bar,
and that's what Dave told us in his opening speech. Let's talk about that. What have you seen at these summits that made you kind of bring that out in the beginning?
Just the ideas, looking at things. It's all about perspective, and you get different perspectives from different parts of the country. Right. And sometimes it's just somebody pointing something out that may be 90 degrees different than what you're doing, things that you had never considered. So it's looking through a different lens. And we would we tried to take one gold nugget that we could take back and use.
Yep.
And I mean, some of them, they worked. Others, I mean, we absolutely killed it with them.
Yeah.
Just simple ideas. That's where really the goal was. And just in the conversations, you guys mentioned hanging out at the bar.
Yeah.
That's where the best stuff comes from.
For
just
sure.
General conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes it's not HVAC related. Sometimes, I mean, it's something you can take back and actually put in your life.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So
no doubt. It's been, I'm just so thrilled to be here. It's been an awesome experience. There's still more to come. It's Tuesday to Friday. I believe Friday is a half a day wrap up type of deal. But
there's a trade show going on too.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about
I wanted to bring up that. Not only do you get all the cool people, I mean, Hausch is here, so many people that and you've seen online. Dustin Cole.
Everybody's here.
He's like the HVAC Johnny Depp, that guy.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
Very cool dude. Even when I said it to him, I thought, man, he might take that the wrong way, but he didn't.
I'm just glad he's still wearing
Dustin,
shoes.
like, he just doesn't get mad. He's like the most, he's a nice
he's a hugger.
Guy.
Yeah. Very cool. So many cool people. I'm going to be putting out a video on my YouTube channel of some of the events, some of the people that are here, the trade show that's going on. And that's the next thing I want to move to. We got a trade show going on over there. They're feeding people. They've got bar going. And we've got lots of good vendors here. True Tech Tools is here. Field Piece, UEI. John Ellis is over there talking like a madman. I mean, the dude is high energy.
The cowboy John Ellis is in the house.
Yeah.
We've got, I actually just found out about a new product called duck saddles. So everybody knows I hate flex duck. I have a very serious hatred for it, but flex saddles might be the future.
Yeah. That's a great invention for that, because every time I've seen flex, it's
absolutely, it's droopy.
It's droopy.
So it's droopy.
Getting cut off. So
can't stand it.
Some of the simplest ideas are so smart. You think, why didn't I think of that? Duck saddle. It's perfect.
And the fact that I probably never would have heard of it if I wasn't here right now.
Yeah. I mean, TEC is here.
Steve Rogers is probably one of my favorite human beings on this earth. And he has been just every time, I haven't even got to talk to him yet, because every time I see him, he's just feeding his knowledge to somebody every moment of every day. And I just love that about him.
Yeah.
We've had him on here before, and it was probably one of our best episodes.
No doubt. No doubt.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for having us here. Thank you for doing what you do.
I'm hoping next year you guys can make it to Tech. I know it's quite a trek, but you guys should definitely be there next year.
Well, she drove 20 hours to get here, so it'll only be 3 days to get here for her.
I think it might be time to buy a plane ticket. You might have to.
If I'm on the East Coast above Florida, I'm driving it.
Now, real quick before you guys go, the speech I heard today about, how's Adam doing over here? Are you guys proud of him?
Is this like an employee review thing that's going on right now?
Adam's.
I don't know if I want to do this on air.
No, I'm sure he's doing fantastic.
One word: indispensable.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Nice.
We feel
Very
the same
cool.
way about him.
And I just want to thank you guys both again for having us down here, allowing us to do the podcast. Really, it's
There's no words
invaluable
for it.
just getting to shake hands and meet all these cool
For
people.
sure.
You guys, so head on over to NCI.com. Is that the
National
website?
Comfort Institute. But
National Comfort
NCI. If you go to NCI.com, you're going to the National Cancer
Yes.
Institute. Unfortunately,
So
we
you got-
tried.
A little different.
You got
We
to
tried.
you got to spell it out, guys. National
Yeah.
Comfort Institute. Just
.com.
Google that; it'll take you there.
Yep.
And so much good training, good people,
Yes.
especially now that Adam's
And if
here.
you want to put faces to names,
Thank
you
you.
guys go on they have an employee list out page. So go
Don't
on
look
that,
at
but
my
don't look
picture
at
on there.
Adam.
It's like the worst picture ever.
Don't look at Adam.
I need to change that.
just do what Jennifer does and put
A
the
duck
what's
face
the
selfie.
what's the thing you do on Instagram?
A filter.
Yeah, put a filter on there.
Duh.
Anyway,
Cool.
yep. Well, thanks, guys. I think we might have another guest lined up, but in the
We do.
meantime, we're gonna just chat about NCI.
Thanks, guys.
And like I said, guys, there's going to be a video coming out on Hughesman HVAC's YouTube channel, a quick rundown of the trade show, a little behind the scenes stuff. So
Yeah.
look forward to that. I got to edit it, of course, and drive. I did drive down
You
here.
took one to
Took
the
me-
house too, right?
Yeah, I got one of our little bed and breakfast Airbnb.
I love
I'm going to
it.
be putting up. So yeah, very cool. I'm so happy to be here,
It's
Jen.
been great.
It
I'm
has
so
been
glad
great.
I finally got Ryan to an event. You guys, like, you can't. Those of you who have been to events, you understand that you can't explain an event until you've done one, and this was necessary for Ryan. So
No
I'm so glad
doubt.
you came.
Well, we've got another guest here.
We have the best guest ever.
I only personally met him
Where's the camera?
just, I don't know, an hour ago, but I've been following his content on social media. He's popping up on,
He's just broken the internet recently.
let's go ahead and introduce our guest, Jen.
I would love to introduce our guest. We have the one, the only, Mr. Tim DeStasio. You guys know him as Tim DeStasio HVAC, but he has been killing it with these new videos.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hey, Tim, thanks for being with us.
Oh man, I have been waiting for this invite for.
I was so glad you said yes.
Yeah. Thanks
Um,
for having me.
Is this your first time at NCI or you?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even know NCI really existed until a couple of years ago.
Same.
And,
Which
yeah,
is
it
weird
was
because they were just saying they've been
this
around
hidden
forever.
Gem
Yeah.
that's been around forever.
It's beautiful.
And I started hearing about it, and then I heard David Richardson on a podcast with Brian Orr,
Yeah.
and I was just like,
That's
wow,
a power coupling, right?
Yeah, really. That was such a just a well put together podcast. I was like, I need
Yeah.
to check them out. And then their whole mantra is safety, health, comfort, and efficiency.
Yes.
And when you think about it in that order, that is exactly what we should be attacking problems at.
100%.
And so I was like, I got to learn a little bit more about them. By the time I joined up, it was too late to go to the last summit. Plus, it was, where was last year? So it was like in
In Missouri.
Yeah.
Missouri.
Missouri.
And, but when I heard it was going to be in Asheville, I was like, oh, this is great. My parents are right here a half hour away, so I'll just stay
Yeah.
with them.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
you live in North Carolina too, just
I
on
live
the
in
other
Coastal,
coast.
North Carolina.
Yep.
And I'm staying with my parents, which is, if I could just, for 2 minutes,
Of course.
coming back and staying with your parents 25 years after I moved out. I'll be 44 next week. And they're texting me like, what time are you coming home?
Oh.
And I'm like, I don't know, Dad. I'm a grown man. He's like, well, are you going to be home before 9 or don't stay out too late? I'm like, I won't, Dad. I won't. And
that's
yeah,
funny.
and then
While you were trying to shoot your videos, talk about that because that just warms my heart. So
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I'm also developing some content for an HVAC online course, and so like they've got a gas furnace, they've got a mini split. We don't have gas furnaces on the coast, so
right.
like while I was here staying with them, I'm shooting a bunch of content for this course, and my dad is like, he walks around the corner, he's like, son, are you still filming? I'm like, yes, Dad, I am. So cut. Let's rewind.
Now I'm not.
And then I'm showing how to like put a disconnect back in after working on the unit. I'm like, so I'm just narrating. I'm like, so next we'll pop in the disconnect just like this, and my dad's standing behind me. Yep. You know what? We're gonna leave that one in.
That is
But yeah,
so
and
cute.
they still got the same TV that I was watching cartoons
Yeah.
on
Nice.
in the 90s. Like this thing is still there. Like it's 30 something years old.
It's holding
I-
all the memories together.
I know, yeah, and it's still here. I can't get a TV from Costco to last more than 3 years.
Yeah,
and like this thing from 30 years
exactly.
now, there is one. It seems to only be stuck on one channel, though. I think there's only one channel that works on it, Fox News.
Yeah, of course it
24/7.
is.
But
That makes perfect sense.
but it's
If
been
only
great.
we could do that with air conditioners, right? Just keep the old ones, no
Yeah.
matter what.
Really, 'cause
Let-
the
let me-
30-year-old ones would still be working, but no, we went ahead
Absolutely.
and put in a bunch.
Let me
of junk.
just interject here real
Yeah.
quick. You got some fans here in the
Uh-oh.
chat, nasty saying,
Oh, we got to
Tim,
talk about this too.
Tom
bringing this
Sosha,
up.
Susie Dunn, great videos. Everybody's
Nobody
happy.
that I've roasted, right? Because there's a couple of people I've had to block because they've been like crazy.
They wouldn't come here.
Kind of. They're not here.
They don't
but they
belong
may be.
here.
They may be stalking me, man. There's one dude in particular. I won't mention any names, but my goodness.
Yeah, you have
it's-
to be really careful. I have
Yeah.
one of those too that originated in this show, and it got pretty scary. They actually called me and told me that Ryan gave everybody on Misfits my number one night, and it wasn't true. And they
Oh.
tested me from 5 different numbers, so I thought
Yeah.
it was 5 different people.
I went on, I did a live stream for my other channel
Yep.
just because I forget why we weren't
You
doing
weren't
it,
doing
but
it that
I was
night.
talking. I said, "Oh, I'm going to call Jen," and her number wasn't on there because I just said HVA chick,
Right.
and then she's getting all these weird phone calls. It was
It was crazy.
It
It was
was
scary.
crazy.
Yeah, it's
But yeah, you got to be careful about that. But
Yeah.
let's talk about these roasting videos. So I have not enjoyed my time on social media in a really effing long time. And Tim has renewed that for me.
Yeah,
So where did it come from? And what are you doing if they haven't seen it?
first of all, this is not how I wanted to become internet famous. I've been putting
And yet,
I know.
and yet.
I've been creating online content for like 5 years. And I remember I went to the first HVAC symposium, Brian Orr, and I was like, Brian, how can I just be part of the industry and just do what you guys are doing? He's like, man, just put out videos. Like, they don't have to be great quality. Just put out education. Just put stuff out there. And so I did. And, you know, I had a very modest following. And then my following has like quadrupled ever since. I just came across a video one time, and it was just somebody, the first one that I did, he was explaining something off the wall. And the only thing that I did is I remixed the video. At the very end, there's just me with a dumb look, like dumbfounded look on my face going, what? And it blew up. I'm like, huh. So then I just started finding other videos of people doing really dumb things, explaining things in a really poor way. And it was, first of all, it's kind of sad to see that these are
And flat out
licensed
lying.
contractors.
Like, let's just say that. It's not like Tim's going out there and just roasting every tech.
No,
Like he's
it's-
doing this for a reason.
Yeah, and it's really bad players or people that really need some training.
Yeah.
And so sometimes these are people that are going out there and selling HVAC solutions, and they do not
Right.
know how the basic things work.
Right.
And that to me is sad. I blame partly the industry for it because we only reward the people that bring in a lot of revenue.
Yes.
We don't reward them for their skill set, for their knowledge,
Or for
their
repair at
service.
all.
Yeah, they're just like, hey, you were able to sell a 20 seer to a 93-year-old woman who will never see the return on that investment.
Yes.
Great, you get a great bonus,
Yep.
you know, for that. a
But
great
if you
commission
fixed
for
it, which will last the rest of her life, you get nothing.
yeah, and we actually will discourage that in our service meetings weekly. So
Yes.
like I know those companies, and so I have no problem roasting some of these white shirt technicians that are
Absolutely.
part of that. And the thing is, like, you choose to work there. Like, it's one thing to not have the knowledge. Okay, we can get you some training.
It's
But if-
another to not seek it.
Right. And to be happy where you're at.
Right.
And look, there's enough people out here making content.
Yep.
You can't, if you're in the HVAC space, Facebook and Instagram, and everybody knows that the algorithm knows it.
Yeah.
You are coming across educational videos and content the same way I did when
Everyone
I first
else
found
is.
Brian
Yeah.
Orr stuff. There's no excuse for being a bad player now.
Yeah.
So I started making these videos, just kind of my reaction to really bad explanations and kind of making fun of, you know, some things along the way. And I make funny faces and I have little one-liners and zingers. And for some reason it's been blowing up. But if you notice, every single one of those videos, I try to end it with something educational, because in the end, I'm not an influencer, I'm an educator.
Right.
And I want you to at least know the right way of doing it. I don't want to just, you know, roast people. I don't want to be considered a bully. Sometimes we can educate at the, you know, someone's a good sport. We can educate at the expense of somebody else's
Right.
mistakes. But in the end, I hope they watch it, they learn from it, and they're better because of it. But I know a lot of other people are messaging me online saying, I love the videos. I'm learning so much from that. And
I actually heard John Escobar, who's also here.
Yeah.
He said, I won't say which, just to not blow him up,
Right.
but he said that he's made a mistake that you roasted in one of your videos. And he was kind of like, oh man, I got to know.
but I didn't roast him. It was,
No, it
yeah.
wasn't John
That's the
Escobar.
thing. Like, if I know you and I like you, even if you make a
You're
mistake,
safe.
like I'm
For
not
me
gonna-
though, what you're doing is it's an educational opportunity that you're probably not even tapping into fully, because I have a lot of students that just don't want to watch content unless it's funny.
right.
So I've been using those videos to educate those students that like
Wow.
just aren't gonna, sit and watch. They're not gonna listen to a Brian or a podcast. They
Yeah.
won't get through it, So
Yeah.
your little short clips just give them everything they need to not go be douchebags
Yeah,
out in the world.
We got to figure out a way to reach the next generation, and they learn very differently than how I learned.
Yeah.
And
There's so many people working on it though. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful to watch.
yeah, and so everybody's got their little niche of this is how I learn. Oh, I found a content creator that teaches that way. Great,
Yeah.
go learn from them.
Right.
So that's awesome.
I
Stuff.
agree.
Nasty's asking a question. Do compressors pump liquid? I'm assuming that's one of
I
the
saw it.
Yeah.
Do they expand and contract, Tim?
Ballpark frames. They pump when you cook 'em.
That was the best.
I saw that one today where he said the
That's my
windings,
favorite.
they shorted out because they expand and
Expansion
contract. And
contraction.
Those are the things that they're telling homeowners. I mean, look,
Yeah.
these are customer-facing Instagram accounts.
Yeah.
They are meant to try to get more customers
Yeah.
and try to win over customers.
Well, it's
So
an
these are
age-old
the conversations people are having at kitchen tables with
Yep.
homeowners, convincing them that they need
Making
something
people
that they
dumb.
don't. Yeah,
And
exactly.
what's even more scary is they're not just telling the customer that, they're putting it out on the internet too.
Yeah, they don't care.
deserve what
They
they
either
get,
don't
man.
care that it's wrong
Yeah.
or they don't know,
It's-
and that's even worse. That's scarier.
Yeah, so they kind of deserve what they get.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
It's-
So, what about your contractor life?
So I had a contracting business from 2011 to 2022.
Yep.
And I sold it. And I won't go into any other details about that
Now I want to know.
offline. No, I sold it. I was very grateful to the company that bought it because I was really struggling with mental health and trying to run a big company. Well, it was big in my
I can't
eyes,
imagine
but-
because I run a very small company and my
Yeah,
mental
well,
health is not okay.
Yeah, so we were only up to like 9 people at our biggest, but everything funneled through me. So it was, I didn't have good systems put in place, and I found out I'm an HVAC
Technician.
yeah, that is my livelihood.
Yeah.
Being a business owner, just because you're good at HVAC does not mean that you're
No.
going to be able to handle the stresses and all the other skill sets that are involved with
Yeah.
owning a business. And so
hard.
yeah, eventually, I just realized I saw an opportunity, and so I sold the business, and so I had to sign a non-compete, which was fine because I wanted to move anyway,
Yep.
and so I moved to the North Carolina coast, and so I just have started up a consulting contractor business. It's just me, and I do HVAC design and I do contractor training. So a local contractor has hired me now to train their technicians. I come in
That's amazing.
for 4 or more hours a month.
Yep.
And we cover topics for their salespeople, for the techs, for their installers, even for their dispatchers
I love
to
that.
understand HVAC. And I always have loved being an educator. I taught at the community college off and on over the years. And I always had a training program at my company. And this is just scratching an itch that is,
Yeah.
so that's a really cool opportunity. So really there's 3 arms of my business. I do contractor training. I do comfort consultation. So anything from HVAC service to high humidity problems out on the beach after you get a bunch of moisture, everybody's ducts are sweating,
Right.
everybody's registers sweating, everybody's high humidity. They don't know why. So I do blower door testing, all that full, home performance stuff. And then I do HVAC design for clients all over the country, building custom homes,
Right.
building their dream house. They just need a good design that they can hand over to their contractor to put it in. So those are the 3 arms of my business, and it
awesome.
keeps me busy.
I do the same and the opposite with the design. I do it for contractors only and
Okay.
not for homeowners.
Yeah.
But it's my bread and butter. It's my
Yeah.
favorite thing to do in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a little bit of a challenge working from home now
Yes.
because I'm used to being in the field.
Yeah.
And
It doesn't
so-
feel right at all. And no
Yeah.
matter how long you do it, it just doesn't feel right.
Right. Yeah. So I'm managing that too. But
Yeah. That's a challenge.
Well, since we're on the topic of roasting, I think we've got possibly another guest that's coming on. Tim,
Oh.
please
We
stay
do.
with us.
Okay.
If
Stay
you
with
don't have to
us.
go anywhere,
All right.
but
Yeah.
I think Mr. Jim Bergman is
Oh, cool.
putting around here.
Jim,
Speaking of roasting, he delivered Jennifer. What did he give you?
I got the best birthday present in the world, you guys, from Jim Bergman. I got my home roasted dark roast coffee. So the first time I had it, I had to choose one because he sent me 2 different kinds. And I just fell in love with this dark roast because I could stay up for like 12 days straight. So I just had some, I was like falling asleep at the end of the training this morning. So I went to the hot tub, I had my coffee, and now I'm ready to go.
Yeah, Jim, welcome
Jim.
to the show again.
Hey, thank
yeah.
you for having me. Holy cow.
We will have you anytime, Jim.
Yeah, Jim's welcome anytime, as well as Tim now.
Sure.
So Jim, you're teaching here at the NCI Summit. What classes are you teaching?
I am primarily doing the what do they call it? What's the little town over here called?
The town.
Performance town.
Performance Town.
Performance
Yeah.
Town. Nice.
I did one this morning. It was
Measure Quick
awesome.
is sort of like a hands-on thing. So we actually decided, the best way to demo it is actually live. So
Yeah.
we got a piece of equipment up here running a heat pump, and we can actually live run that little sucker and test it
Yeah.
out and see what's going on. So
So
it
cool.
allows people to be a little bit more interactive than just sort of doing a PowerPoint. So
Very
Right.
cool.
it is fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I took it this morning, and let me tell you this, guys. I've been teaching Measure Quick and TrueFlow for years now. Well, TrueFlow a year, Measure Quick much longer, but I have never found a streamlined process for that ever. And I took an hour class today that taught me that I've been doing everything all wrong for years because I could use Measure Quick, but I couldn't teach it not correctly. So having NCI teach me Measure Quick today, teaching me how to teach Measure Quick, I guess, is what I mean.
Wow,
That
that's
was
awesome.
helpful.
That's
Yeah.
very good.
I can't wait to get back at it now. So very awesome.
Are you enjoying yourself here in Asheville at the summit?
I think this is like one of the best conferences of
Yeah.
the year,
Uh-huh.
and it's right up against. I mean, I love this Brian Orr's event too.
Yeah, who doesn't?
So,
Yeah.
but this is like a little bit different. It's more owners, it's more people, implementers, people that can get things actually done. Where Brian's event's a lot of service technicians and
Okay.
end users of the product. So it's two different audiences here, but like we have with NCI people, they have spent the last 20 years learning to do what Measure Quick completely automates.
Right.
So like when they say Measure Quick, they're like, oh my gosh, this is so much easier to use. It's
Invaluable. Yeah.
invaluable. Yeah. And it does the diagnostics.
Yeah. And you touched on that in your speech this morning before Brian came on about, you can Measure Quick taking all that information and making it so easy for,
It's unexplainable, really,
Oh,
what
it's
Measure
ex-
Quick does.
It's explainable, but it
Yeah.
takes a
If
long
you're
time
Jim
to
Bergman.
explain, yeah. Yeah, I always tell people like, oh, it's really hard to learn. I'm like, you should try and program it. So
It's
yeah.
so easy to learn, though. I think I was actually talking with a younger technician who does duct cleaning, who is in the class with me. And he said to me, this stuff isn't what I need to know for my job, but I wanted to learn it anyway. And I said, why isn't it? Like if you can show the customer using Measure Quick how dirty those ducts are and how that's ruining their lives, basically, then you can sell anything.
Well, I think 3.0, like when we went back to our roots,
Yeah.
we really made it more tech centric. We were trying to figure out, obviously, we're in a business to make money along the way. I mean, we've been really trying to help techs, but we got to make a living too. We got to pay the programming
course.
team and all that kind of stuff. So we're trying to figure out how to monetize and we went from a product led growth strategy to a sales led growth.
Yeah.
Although I forgot you had to have a sales team to have sales growth. So we put all this infrastructure in place and realized, oh, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And so we had to go sort of back to our roots, and it was pretty interesting because we realized how valuable the technician is in the equation. Like we made a huge mistake because we didn't value the right things, and all of a sudden, we realized actually it's the techs that are pulling this up to the owners, and they're the ones that are actually looking at Measure Quick, seeing the value and seeing how it's impacting their career, and taking it to Measure Quick or taking it to the owners. We had a few that like, no, this is our best kept secret, and this is how I differentiate myself, and I'm not going to let everybody else know about it because this is what how I get my
Not helpful.
yeah. Well, but I mean, when you're looking at revenue, per ticket,
Yes.
and you're looking at being the highest paid guy if you have that advantage, I mean, I get it, but
I know it because I live in Maine and I have the advantage.
yeah. So, but it was it's been an interesting ride, but this group is so prime for Measure Quick and automating the processes they learn by hand, and they get the performance based contracting is unique, and it is something that is so valuable to companies and so valuable to technicians and so valuable to the end user, the consumer. I mean, it's one of those things that you have to experience to actually understand.
Right.
And the whole concept of actually slowing down, I always tell people we got to make like your first call, your only call for the day. It's your mindset. It's like,
Yep.
And there's nothing, if you could make all your revenue off of one call, why would you not do that?
Yep.
You don't get paid for the windshield time.
Yep.
And it's not like homeowners are going to fix everything you find, but
Right.
if you never have the opportunity to present it to them as an option, then they never have the opportunity to say yes or no.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, the whole concept of performance-based contracting, like zonal pressurization. I mean, how many times people have rooms that are not heating or cooling right? And literally we just got to throw a tube underneath the door, close the door, and see if the room is pressurized or depressurized. Is this room a problem or not?
Yeah.
And these are such like little simple things that if we implement into a business can equate to, thousands of dollars of opportunity that we can do. And it provides huge amounts of benefit. It's like, it kills me when everybody tries to hide all of their, all of their margin in a capacitor, right? When the consumer can go in and look and they can see a capacitor is $20 and you're charging $300 for that. Right. That's a really hard conversation to have.
Yes, it
right?
is.
But when you can go in and you can actually, charge, $70 for the capacitor, reasonable markup, and you can justify that your labor cost. I mean, we need to, as an industry, stop putting our margin in our parts and start putting it in our labor, because if you're good at what you do, there's value in that. That's what people are paying for.
And it will weed out the ones who aren't good at what they do.
Well, 30 plus years ago, I had Bergman Enterprises. I had my own HVAC company. I did a lot of commercial industrial work, a lot of like specialty work for people. And I was getting swamped. And I was telling my accountant, I'm like, this just sucks. I'm exhausted. I don't know what to do. And he's like, dude, just double your rates.
That's right.
And so I doubled my rates. I lost a quarter of my business for 1 year, a quarter of my business. He said, if you lose half your business, you broke even.
Right.
And I'm like, I lost a quarter of my business and I was making actually a lot of profit. I'm like, this is pretty cool. And all of a sudden,
and then future years,
all the people that I didn't want went away. And then all the people that left me all of a sudden valued the service that I provided, because they're like, oh man, we tried to hire somebody else, and it's just a train wreck.
Nightmare.
It's like, I'm like, well, this is the difference. I invest all this money in training and tools and all this stuff that I can figure this stuff out faster. And they're like, they value we got to quit. We got to start valuing outcomes instead of time.
Yes.
That's the biggest mistake we make, is we put everything on what is it worth an hour, right? We're not paying for the hourly rate. We're paying for outcome. I'm paying for solution. If I can fix the same problem in 5 minutes that takes this guy 30 minutes, well, why would you, or 3 hours or 3 days, right? Why would you
penalize yourself?
Yeah. Why would you penalize yourself? It's like, you need to rethink what you do. I mean, when I walk into the doctor's office and I pay $145 to see my doctor for 10 minutes, right?
You think he's a specialist.
He's a specialist around your time. We are specialists. We're like, and this is a practice. I mean, like HVAC is a practice. You never learn it. Doctors practice, lawyers practice, HVAC technicians practice. We need 100%. To elevate ourselves up to like, we're extremely valuable in the food chain. We have more impact on consumers' health than our doctors do.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Because we're the ones that have the opportunity to look at the indoor air quality, look at how the people's comfort. And I'm telling you, if like you've never experienced comfort in your life, when actually you get that system working right and you're comfortable in your home.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't give me a multi-million-dollar home that didn't have heating or cooling.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
I'd rather be in a tiny little cabin in the wood that's comfortable.
Yeah.
Than I would be in a multi-million-dollar home that was cold and clammy.
Yep.
Right.
For sure.
And we forget the value that we provide to consumers. And we just gotta like it's a mental block. We've been told over and over and over again.
Societal block.
It's that if you don't go to college, you're not valuable.
Exactly.
And it's like, we just got to completely rid ourselves of that, because we are the people that cure problems for the industry. It would make a huge difference.
That's so
and
true.
If you want to see, just eliminate all the HVAC technicians in the world and see how people, see what
fall
it's
apart.
Like. Yeah, the world would fall apart.
Look at COVID. We were essential. I mean, they couldn't go without us, not even for a day. I worked through that whole thing.
And it's heating, cooling, refrigeration, pharmaceutical, petrochemical, ice making. Yep. I mean, absolutely everything is around HVAC.
We're more intrinsically involved in people's health than their own doctors. When you think about indoor air quality, I mean, your HVAC tech is more important than your doctor when it comes to that.
100%, for sure. for sure. I have
But I don't do proctology, just so.
I have a student that's in Barbados,
Speak for yourself.
in Barbados, they don't do any type of IAQ stuff. They're not, I mean, they're barely on the map, right?
Right.
So this student calls me and he's like, I've been doing the HVAC school. I've been watching the podcast. I want to do better. Like, so I have this house and it's got moldy ducts just everywhere. What can I do? And so I told him, and he came back a couple days later and he's like, they won't let me. So I think that was like my turning point. Like, people don't realize how important we are. So we can't sell to them. We need to get that information out to the consumer so that they know how important that is for their health.
I really like what you said, and I've been implementing this in my new business on the service side, running less calls a day. We have a problem in our industry where we think that we need to run 8 to 12 calls a day to be profitable.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And so, you know, I was running the numbers on my business, and let's say that my business, I need to make $1,600 of gross profit a day. Like, we should know that number.
Right.
Now, if we divide that by 2 or 3 calls, that's $500, $600 a call, something like that.
Totally
So
doable.
If you're not using Measure Quick, you send a technician out there on a service call, unit's not cooling, he finds a bad capacitor. Now these companies have to charge between the service call fee and the capacitor $550.
Yep.
And that's a tough sell. A lot of people would have a problem paying that. And a lot of people would have a problem selling that because they know what the cost of the capacitor is.
Right.
But if that same technician for that same block of time, a third of a day, found not only a bad capacitor, he found an airflow problem, he found a minor charge problem, a indoor coil that needed to be cleaned before he even could see it with a camera. And Measure Quick told me he had a dirty indoor coil based on the data. Now you probably will make a lot more than $550 for that call, but you spread it over multiple repairs and multiple things that need to be done, and you're going to make more revenue, and it's going to be like revenue that you can sleep at night.
Right.
You charge somebody $550 for a capacitor. You charge them maybe $1,200 for the full
their
day.
health.
You did all that stuff. And maybe you ran 2 of those calls a day, and it's because your technician is finding more stuff, and it's ethical sales.
Absolutely. Not that slimy, you
ethical
know, you didn't
sales.
do something nasty to get that.
Right.
Well, and the consumer's either going to see it in their comfort or in their bill. They
Yep.
will notice the difference. I mean, there's zero question about it. You will notice the difference.
Yeah, for sure. Especially people who spend more time at home. I've noticed those are my best sells.
Post-pandemic, people are spending more time at home.
Oh, yeah.
They're more in tune with the problems. Oh, wow, this room is hot at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when I was normally at work in the office. I didn't know it was hot. I got home after the sun went down. The room cooled off. Now people are getting in tune with those problems.
Yeah.
I think the other big opportunity we're overlooking is, and again, pandemic brought about was indoor air quality. I mean, we used to put filters on equipment to protect the equipment, and now we're actually putting filters on equipment to protect the occupants. And the whole concept of trapping the dirt and throwing it away is very, very interesting. And you know, it just, there's like these huge opportunities to dramatically decrease the amount of particulates in the air and also better control the temperature and relative humidity. I mean, relative humidity is one of the most understated concepts, you know, just the amount, like we want to keep that between 30 and 60%.
Yep.
If we have anything over 60%, we're going to have VOCs, we're going to have biological growth, we're going to have outgassing materials. We have anything less than 30%, we're going to have huge amounts of particulates.
Right.
And so the whole concept of maintaining humidity is just something that we have overlooked as an industry. We've been so fixated on temperature that we haven't forgot like humidity and particulates are tied hand in hand. Particulates are humidity and respiratory issues are tied hand in hand, right? And so by just taking a little bit more time and managing that humidity and managing those particulates, we can dramatically improve the quality of life for the occupants of the home.
Not to mention comfort. Like humidity makes you uncomfortable.
Well, and you look at what you spend. Like my wife and I, before the pandemic, I had crappy filtration in my furnace. What I did around the pandemic was I can't remember. I was looking at Nate Adams talking about the big ass drop, you know, the huge return air. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to add a second filter in my furnace. So I went from 116 by 25 to 216 by 25 filters in my furnace. The other thing I did was I noticed that I had a lot of air bypass around my filter. So my circuit board's getting dirty, my trap's getting dirty, my blower's getting dirty, and I fixed those 2 issues in the house. When I fixed those 2 issues in the house, the amount of dust in my house cut to maybe 1/10 of the amount of dust.
Wow.
But the other thing is I was taking Claritin D every single day because I was waking up and I was congested and I had crap running down my throat. I'd wake up gagging in the morning when I'd stand up because almost of my sinuses drained on the back. Right. Well, like 90% of that went away. And now I take Claritin like a couple times a year when the transition falls, from fall to spring or
Fallen
spring to
season,
sprawl.
yeah.
Yeah, whatever. But I'm not taking it every single day.
Right.
Well, you look at the cost of that Claritin D and what I paid for that. It's going to pay my filter modification paid dividends. And now I'm not groggy. I'm not putting crap in my body I don't want to have in my body.
Yes.
And it's like my quality of life went up. And it was just
Two
some
little tiny things.
Yeah.
Very. Most people would think minor, but really played a very important role in having you feel better.
Right.
That and bacon and coffee make me feel better. Sometimes bourbon.
Same.
Yeah.
If I can touch on Measure Quick real quick, I've been watching a lot. I watch a lot of HVAC related YouTube channels. And just the other day I was watching AB HVAC, Austin Bell. He's been on our show and he was dealing with a static pressure issue or a blower issue. So he was using Measure Quick and he put the psychrometers in and he was like, wow, this thing calculates CFM. And just kind of learned it right there. I was almost like I watched him learn it in real time. And that's one thing I really like about Measure Quick is, you're getting the measurements, you're getting the data, but it's also a very good teaching aid.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I get
helping
tech
you-
support calls that are just ridiculous and they're redundant. And I get them 40 times a day. I answer the phone and I'm like, hello, just download Measure Quick.
And it guides you along. It gives you suggestions as to what might be the problem in that particular issue that you're having.
And why.
It's very it's a great app, a great product. And we've got the man over here.
That same kid this morning was saying, everybody always tells me to take my numbers and then I have my numbers and then I don't know what to do after.
Right.
And he's like, every single program, it's the same way. My boss is the same way. I said, just use Measure Quick.
Well, I think Ty was one of the first people that like really recognized what I was trying to do, and that was visualize data.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, with Measure Quick, you don't have to know what the numbers are to know if they're in the right range or not, because we're showing you when things are too high or too low.
Yep.
And then if you tap on the target of what's too high or too low, it tells you, hey, this is what it means, and that's too high or too low. And then
this is probably why.
And this is probably why. And then when we aggregate all those targets that are too high or too low, then those are what we call the major faults versus the minor faults. So like if you have a major fault, like you have a low refrigerant charge on a fixed orifice, you're going to have low suction pressure, low head pressure, high superheat, low subcooling, low temperature split.
Yep.
Those 5 things together indicate that we have a low charge.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you could also have a low suction pressure and a low superheat instead of a high superheat if you have low airflow. Right. And so, but like learning all those combinations is what takes years and years and years, because it's like, there's not like 5 combinations or 10 combinations. There's 150, 200,000 different combinations.
And even on those sheets that you get with the arrows, there's like 4 on there.
Well, but here's the
Only
thing.
possibilities.
Here's the thing. So this goes back to why we made Measure Quick. So I had a student when I was in school that he's like, hey, Bergman, he goes, I know if the pressure's like way too high or way too low. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but how do I know if it's like just a little too high or a little too low? Like, how do I know what the pressure should be before I hook up the gauges?
Great question.
And I'm like, now you got to realize I'm 15 years in, I'm working on stuff that's 70 to 750 tons.
Yeah.
And I go, geez, I have no clue.
Yeah.
I have no idea. And I'm like, I'm realizing I don't even know what I do for a living.
It's existential dread sets in.
And I'm realizing that, like, as I go through and I'm teaching this high school program, I don't know how to measure airflow. When I was in the trade, my boss, I'd tell him, hey, I think I got an airflow issue. He goes, airflow is set by the balancer. It's not an airflow issue.
Right.
Quit thinking about that.
Yeah.
So they would like dismiss it because I'm working for a commercial industrial company and all we do is like rooftop units. And so there's all these things I like didn't know. And then I got to this quandary of like, well, how do we figure it out? So like Sporlan, I looked at a Sporlan temperature pressure chart. These are like the older ones and they would say, like for a meat cooler, you had a TD of 10, so that meant the evaporator was 10 degrees colder than the case temperature. And I'm like, why don't we show TD for air conditioning? And
absolutely. Great question.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, and I started measuring. I'm like, about 400 CFM per ton, or TD was 35. We're 35 degrees colder than a return air. And so then it led to, well, does that stay the same all the time? So then I looked at it on a 70 degree, 80 degree day, 90 degree day. It's always 35 degrees colder. It's like, oh, it always stays the same.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this stuff. I had 12 years to learn this stuff. And I was at a point where I was in a lab or I was in a school system where I could actually didn't have a consumer over my shoulder looking at like going, oh, how soon you're going to have this thing fixed?
Right.
It didn't matter if it was fixed or broke. And so it just gave me this opportunity that most technicians never have.
Right. To cure that curiosity.
Well, but also like no matter how long I ran my air conditioner during the day, I wasn't going to change the temperature of a 20,000 square foot lab.
Right.
Right. So,
Right.
so I had conditions that were ideal to actually experiment and learn this stuff. And then
Sure.
it's sort of funny because I was looking at a thing I wrote for Testo back in 1993. I wrote the Testo guide for HVAC, and it was the foundations for MeasureQuick.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's like, and it was all this stuff I was learning. It's like I was sort of laughing because I was thinking about how parallel like Jen's track is and my track, where it's like what she discovered and I discovered was the more you give, the more you share, the more you teach, the more you learn.
Absolutely.
It's like this
Teaching humbles me every day.
Yeah, but the thing is that you get the opportunity to experience everybody's problems, not just your own. You get to experience everybody. So when people call you, like you get a chance to step in without necessarily all the responsibility.
No, I just get the hero side.
Yeah, you just get the hero side. But
that's my payment.
But that's really cool because you get a chance to experience 10 times or 100 times what a typical technician experience, and it accelerates your learning curve.
It definitely does. I've learned more teaching than I've ever learned learning.
You have to understand something a whole nother level when you teach it. It's one thing to do it, but to teach it.
And you have to constantly be researching. Because if you don't know, if you're not 100% sure and you've got to tell somebody what to do, it's terrifying.
It reveals the holes in your knowledge and you don't realize how many holes there are. I've actually used MeasureQuick for tech support where someone has messaged me, just DM me on Instagram and said, this is what I'm running into. And they actually gathered all the data using maybe non-Wi-Fi probes. They had a sling psychrometer and they got all this information. And I manually entered it into MeasureQuick and told them what was going on with it.
That's what I love about
I helped them out. And I've even been able to do some training on home inspectors. Now they don't have an EPA card, so they can't gauge up. But I've showed them non-invasive testing.
Yeah.
Love it.
I just told them, look, if anything's in the blue or the red, then you need to get a licensed contractor out there to do it right. But when they're doing these HVAC inspections for a new house, just a real estate transaction.
Visual inspections, huge.
But they still can't really test whether the system's cooling right. And I've showed them how to use the suction, just a non-invasive testing. And they're turning leads over to HVAC contractors, finding stuff that a normal contractor would miss. In fact, when we did the training, we did it at the owner's house. He had just had his service. He was a little bit low in refrigerant, and he got a clean bill of health from his contractor. And he was a little bit low in refrigerant. And we found it using just non-invasive testing on MeasureQuick.
Non-invasive system check, you guys. I drill it into your heads.
Well, the other thing people don't realize is that until you actually measure equipment performance, right? Because what's interesting is we put a 2-ton system in, we assume it's doing 2 tons of capacity, right? We just assume it. And we don't, like back in the day. So when I very first started in this industry, the Testo 523 came out. Was the first digital gauge set. And my dad was like, what the hell do you need that for? My dad was in the HVAC industry. He's like, this is the stupidest thing ever. Why would you need digital gauges, right? I'm like, Dad, these things are awesome. You can get the superheat within like 1 degree. And he's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make that much difference. So we're in a fixed orifice metering device. We're charging up a unit. My dad charges it up, and the way we normally would charge it, and he gets it within a few degrees, and I'm like, Dad, let's go ahead and let's just dial in the charge exactly. And we're probably within like 8 degrees of the target, and he would have just said it's close enough, it's good enough.
Beer can
and so we just added I think we added an ounce or 2 of refrigerant. And the temperature split dropped 2 or 3 degrees. Well, if you think about a 20-degree drop, that's a 10% increase in cooling capacity and sensible cooling capacity. And we were measuring airflow, we're measuring cooling capacity. And he's like, holy cow, that's a huge difference.
Light bulb.
Light bulb went on. And if you think about that 10% increase in cooling capacity, that's a 10% reduction in runtime, because now we're gonna satisfy. But here's the thing is, if you can't satisfy during a during like you're close to peak load capacity, it runs all the time.
Yeah.
It never shuts off.
Yep.
So that whole cycling, the off cycle savings is where we actually save money.
Yes. They should
And-
run all the time.
Yeah.
At any time.
Well,
we can.
Well, the off cycle meaning that if you have like a single stage piece of equipment, when you're at 95, let's say if your design's 95, it should run 24/7, right?
Right.
But if it's 92 degrees, it should cycle off.
Right.
Right. And but if you have it undercharged, your sensible capacity is low on a 92-degree day, it's running 100% of the time. On a 95-degree day, it's
Right.
never going to, it's going to run 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's
Yeah.
never going to shut off. And so what we're doing is basically we're making sure that on the cooler days, it actually cycles instead of running continuously.
Yes.
And that off cycle savings is where you save money. You save money when an
Huge
air
money.
conditioner actually shuts off.
Right.
Right. And so that kind of thing was like that was an epiphany that my dad had, that I had. It was like small changes in airflow and small changes in charge make a huge difference. Like you drop the coil below the dew point and all of a sudden you start to dehumidify.
Yeah.
Right.
Imagine it.
And a unit that's a little bit low on refrigerant may not be below dew point,
Or
Yeah.
you're
Still making
bypassing
it.
a ton of air
Right.
to the top of the coil.
but that meter is still spinning at the same rate.
True.
And if you've ever taken like an air conditioner, like you take an old one out, sometimes you find like coils that are spotless.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good indication that the system is properly charged. If you find one if you ever notice when you pull an old coil out and the top half of the coil is dirty,
Yes.
that's an undercharged unit, because what happened was there was not enough refrigerant at the top of the coil to create to basically drop the coil below the dew point temperature.
Right.
And so the top half of the coil's never been washed off by the condensate.
Stays dry.
Condensation.
And so
Yeah.
all that,
life.
the
Collects.
dirt collects at the top because
Exactly.
there's been nothing to wash it off.
This becomes part of
And
it.
so that tells you for that life of that system that was undercharged.
Wow.
And you'll pull out systems that are like 20 years old that have a spotless coil.
Yep.
And that's because they were charged properly.
It's awesome.
They're about to kick us off here.
Yeah. Jim, you talked all day on this. This guy's got HVAC running through his blood, through his
Absolutely.
veins. So
100%.
I want
That's
to
why I like
thank,
him.
I want to thank you for coming on, Jim. It was really a pleasure to meet you in person. Tim, meeting you. Oh, your content is great.
Thank you.
The
Yeah.
people in the comments.
Pleasure being on.
Thank
Keep it
you.
up.
I want to also thank Adam and Dave who were on earlier. Guys, this is the NCI High Performance Summit. We're in Asheville, North Carolina. So guys, I want
Get
you
your
to
tickets for Austin, Texas.
yeah,
next
I
year,
want you to
guys.
head over there. I want you to check out the National Comfort Institute. Google them. You got to Google the whole name though, because there's a couple
Yeah.
different things.
Don't
that
use
have
the
that same
acronym.
NCI acronym. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. I appreciate all the guests, and I just wanted to bring you in on this podcast and show you what's going on here at NCI. So
See you on Saturday.
Saturday we will be back. See you then, Jen. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.